OK, let's reflect on some of the outcomes of that summit in Riyadh with Ibrahim Frayat. He's an associate professor of conflict resolution at the Doha Institute for Graduate Studies. Ibrahim, welcome back. Always good to see you. So the message coming out of Saudi Arabia from Arab and Muslim leaders is that they feel that the United States has in many ways empowered Israel to quite simply ignore international law. They've made it clear they want to return to the rules-based way of doing things. I mean, it may seem counterintuitive, but do those same leaders feel that the new US President Donald Trump will bring about stability in the region or shake things up enough to be able to challenge the existing status quo?
Thank you. One important thing is to keep in mind for the Arab Summit and in Riyadh is that this region is in total chaos in the past year, since October 7. And the region witnessed the total collapse of the rules-based order in the region. The only rule in the past year has been the rule of force, the rule of Israeli force, and that's supported by the United States. Unfortunately, the U.S. administration ignoring the rules-based order and the horrific human rights violations happening in Gaza, and with the Israeli force being in total support of the U.S. So this is, the region has reached unprecedented levels of instability and chaos, and now is the time is to change the course of action. And that's why the message is coming from Riyadh is that now that the U.S. administration is free from the domestic lobbying pressure, now they can do something. There are few months left for them in power, and this is their opportunity to do it. And at the same time, actually, it's also the new incoming administration. That's also for Trump. This is his second term. He's also free from domestic lobbying in order for domestic politics in the U.S. to determine the shape and the course of action in the Middle East. So we have reached an important opportunity now, and Arab leaders realize this, and it's the time for this to change and probably to go back to the rules-based order and try to put the peace process back on track.
When it comes to what the outgoing US administration could potentially do, that's a big question, isn't it? We know that Joe Biden will be meeting with Israel's President Isaac Herzog in the White House later on in the day. Is the assumption now that that administration, freed from the pressures of the US election, could potentially pass some kind of laws or policies or do something to change the course of what is happening in the Middle East without any political repercussions domestically?
Honestly, I'm not totally optimistic about this. Why? Because if we look at the motives behind the Biden administration's unlimited, unconditional support to Israel the past 2 years, actually it came from two sources. One is that domestic lobbying, Israeli lobbying, which is fine. Now they're free from it. But there is an important factor, another important factor, the elephant in the room. Biden's administration support to Israel has also been ideological, meaning that Biden believes in Zionism. He identifies himself as a Zionist. So it wasn't all about domestic lobbying to support the Israel violations. So while the lobbying is free from the pressure on the Biden administration, there is still the elephant in the room, the ideological support. The Biden administration is a Zionist administration, and this has been seen all the past year. So he's not free from that. Yeah, that's why I doubt that there will be serious, robust pressure in order to put an end to the genocide that he has armed, supported financially and diplomatically. And that's why I'm not totally optimistic.
Right, so no sense that he would abandon those deep ideological perspectives before he leaves office. I want to ask you lastly about one more thing. A key line that came out of Riyadh from Mohammed bin Salman, Saudi Arabia's crown prince, saying to Israel, do not attack Iran. We all know there have been these long-standing tensions between Saudi Arabia and Iran in the past, particularly over Yemen. Last year, this pact was signed between Saudi and Iran, brokered by China. That diffused some tensions. But we're about to see a Trump administration take over with some very anti-Iranian hawkish figures likely to be leading that administration. How should we read these deepening alliances between Saudi Arabia and Iran in light of that?
There is a very important conclusion, lesson here to learn and to read from what you just said. Thank you for that. Actually, which is that Arab leaders, particularly Saudi Arabia, learned the hard way of how to manage its relations with Iran and with the depending on the U.S. administration. Basically, there is no trust between whether Saudi Arabia leadership or other leadership of any U.S. administrations, whether it's Democratic or Republican, no matter how it pledges the support. This Trump administration that was in power when Saudi Aramco, the major oil facility, was attacked by the Houthi drones and was hardly hit, and Trump did not move a muscle in order to protect or to provide security and support for Saudi Arabia. So there is no reason that for the Saudi leadership is to put unlimited trust or serious trust in any U.S. administration. Also, the Obama administration, Democratic administration, that also signed a nuclear deal with Iran and threw Saudi Arabia and the rest of the Gulf states under the bus without taking their concerns into any considerations. So they learned the hard way from a Democratic administration and from a Republican administration. And this position, honestly, is way overdue. This should have been the position that Saudi Arabia taken a long time ago, not to be on the forefront of tension and instability with Iran, and then to see the Biden, Obama, and the Trump administration abandoning Saudi Arabia to be in trouble with Iran, and that's why they're balancing their security relations, Saudi Arabia at this moment, and they're refusing to be used in any confrontation in the future if it happens. So that's why the balance is at the core interest of Saudi Arabia and the rest of the region.
So it's talking about a deepening sense of regional ties over preceding, I suppose, concerns about how unreliable various U.S. administrations
totally
have
unreliable.
been.
And they learn the hard way.
It was good to hear your thoughts. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.